Welcome to the Risers Hub, your go-to podcast for personal growth and self-discovery. I'm Nicole Hodges, your host and life coach, and I'm thrilled to be your companion on this transformative journey. In this safe space, we'll explore the nuances of becoming the best version of yourself. Whether you're seeking mental clarity, physical fitness, or a holistic life transformation, the Risers Hub is here to provide insights, guidance, and a touch of humor along the way. I authored Time to Rise, Get Fit, and Stay There, and my mission is simple: to help you unlock your true potential. No gimmicks, just practical wisdom, suggestions, and encouragement tailored to your unique path. So grab your favorite earplugs, beverage, munchies, and find a comfortable spot and join me on this adventure of self-discovery. This is the Risers Hub, where personal growth meets practicality and possibly a new you. Let's navigate this journey together because, I'm not perfect either. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome to the Risers Hub. It's your girl Nicole, and today we will be talking about intentional goal setting. Yes, last week I talked about setting goals, keeping your list short and sweet, and making sure your goals were SMART goals. But if I have to be honest, I wasn't satisfied with that episode. I felt like it didn't have enough substance or information. And what's the point of doing this podcast if I'm not doing my best to serve you? So this week, I'm being intentional by creating better content for you and making sure that I'm helping you create goals that have intention and have a purpose. So let's get started. Okay, so now you know I didn't like last week's episode. And everything that I shared last week is still valid and still relevant. The RISE theory is not going anywhere. That is the foundation of great goal setting. But this week, I want to layer on a layer of intention. So today we're going to talk about intentional goal setting, and I'm going to try and divide this up into segments. So bear with me because I'm still new to this podcasting thing and I get nervous when I'm talking to y'all. So just bear with me, okay? So first of all, intentional goal setting are goals with a purpose in mind. There's an end game, a benefit to you, a better way of living for you. There is some level of improvement in your life when you set intentional goals. Now, what's interesting about this segment is that the universe is so interesting because, I wasn't happy with last week's episode. It really taxed me all week. And I happened to talk to several different people about things they wanted to do. And what they were really talking to me about were goals that they had set, but just either couldn't get started or they got lazy or something happened where they really couldn't move forward. And these are different kind of people from all walks of life. And it started to make me think about my episode from last week. And when I was thinking about it, the first thing I asked each of them was, well, what was your purpose of this goal? What was your intention of putting this list together? And there was complete silence because they couldn't really give me an intention or a purpose. And so that's where I felt like I needed to provide more information when setting goals. Now, I'm going to kind of jump around here and there because there are a couple questions I feel like you need to ask yourself when you are putting together a goal list. All right? So let me find these questions here. The first question, there's 5 questions. The first question, are you creating these goals for yourself? Yes or no? Number 2, are you creating these goals for your livelihood? Yes or no? Number 3, are you creating these goals for your partner? Yes or no? Number 4, Are you creating these goals for a relative? Again, yes or no. And number 5, the last question. Will this goal please someone else? Yes or no? That's simple. All right. Now, we're going to scuttle back up here to talk about intentional goal settings. Now, the difference to me between setting goals and setting intentional goals is very simple. Setting goals, regular old goals, is like making a list of things to do. I need to do this. I need to do that. That's it. There's no intention or purpose behind it. Now, intentional goal setting, gives your goals more meaning. Intentional goal setting motivates you. It keeps you going when times get hard, and times will get hard when you set realistic and intentional goals. Intentional goal setting keeps you focused on what you want. And last, intentional goal setting helps to build boundaries when necessary with people, places, and things. All right, so let's go back to those questions. Question number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Are you creating goals for yourself? Are you creating goals for your livelihood? Are you creating goals for your partner? Are you creating goals for a relative? And last, will this goal please someone else? Now, each one of these questions should be asked for each of your goals. And if you say yes to number 1 and number 2, you're well on your way to creating amazing goals. If you say yes to number 3, 4, or 5, for any reason, I think those goals need to be pitched, thrown in the trash, get rid of them. If you are creating goals for your partner, for your relative, or to please and make someone else happy, these are not your goals. You're wasting your time, and you don't need to move forward. Now, this goes back to that airplane analogy. When like the oxygen mask falls down, they tell you to take care of yourself before you can take care of the person next to you. It's the same thing. As a parent, the first thing you want to do is put the oxygen mask on your kid. But you can't do that if you're not taking care of yourself first. So the reason why I ask you these questions for each of your goals is that you need to take care of yourself first before you can take care of anyone else. All right. Let's move into the next segment, which is intentional goals give you clarity, focus, and direction. Now, when you create intentional goals, you now have a very clear path to get to where you want to go. There's no questions. Clear goals prevent distractions, and they ensure that your energy is channeled forward and towards achieving your intended outcome. It's just that simple. So when you have intentional goals, you are moving forward with a very clear path, and you know where you're going. Intentional goals also motivate you and provide a commitment to yourself. It creates a sense of purpose and motivation that will keep you committed. It will build endurance, and it will help you overcome challenges that may arise during your pursuit of your goals. So that goes back to making sure that when your goals are intentional, it will help you stay focused. And even when times get hard, you know exactly what you're trying to do and where you're trying to get to. And with intentional goals, it will keep you motivated to push through. So it's like, and people who run marathons and train for marathons, half marathons, 5Ks, You know what I'm talking about? If this is something you really want to do, it could be pouring down rain and you have to get 10 miles in. You know, in order to finish that marathon, you've got to get those 10 miles in. So if it's pouring down rain, you have two options. You get on a treadmill or you get out there in that rain and you run those 10 miles. That's it. It's motivation to keep you going. Now, that makes me think of this story, this article actually I was reading about Michael Jordan, who's one of the greatest basketball players of all time. No matter what you guys say, he's part of my generation, and that's how I feel, okay? But the one thing about Michael Jordan is that he would practice ball handling, defense, footwork. He would watch countless film and moves from other players, even his own moves. And he also shared how he missed more than 9,000 shots. But the point to all this is that he put in the work. He focused on his goal, his end game. And he took chances to make himself better. Now, we're not basketball players, but we have to do the work. We have to practice the ball handling, the defense, the footwork, watch film, watch moves. We have to do all the work. And in the process of all that, we're going to miss our 9,000 shots in life. But we have to keep going to be our best selves. I love that story because he could have easily never talked about his failures, if that's what you want to, if that's what you want to call missing 9,000 shots. But it's just like when I ran track, like we had to run around that track 1,000 times, and there would be days where I'm like, what are we doing? And sometimes we would make the mark, and sometimes we wouldn't. But we had to keep going and keep going and keep going, because come game day, come track day, once we had to start running around that track, it was easy. And no matter what was thrown on the track, or like if we slipped and fell, or if we dropped a baton, we had a plan how to get around it, how to finish the race. And so the same thing applies to life. You have to put in the work to get to your goals, and you're going to miss your 9,000 shots, but you're going to have 9,000 other opportunities to make it right. All right, so now we're going to talk about how intentional goals equal clear goals, which also equals SMART goals. SMART goals, if you listen to last week's episode, are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-worthy goals. Now, since SMART goals equal clear goals come with specific metrics and milestones, allowing you to track how far you've come and celebrate the small victories along the way. And this is very important because you need to stay motivated. You need to stay on track. So celebrate every little milestone. Do not beat yourself up if there's any setbacks. Keep pushing forward. Tell yourself you can do this. Now, in the last podcast, I asked you what your core values were. And it's very important to align your intentional goals with your core values. Why? Because when you are adding your core values to your goals, you're building boundaries, you're adding your beliefs, your core values, who you are. And when you're adding who you are to your intentional goals, it gives you the strength to move through these goals in a way that makes it more exciting and more satisfying, because you're being your authentic self. And when you hit a milestone, it just feels better. It's not like someone is telling you to do this their way. Again, it goes back to those 5 questions. If you answer the first 2 questions with a yes, you're moving in the right direction. You're doing it for yourself and you're doing it for your own livelihood. That is what's important when you are aligning your goals, your intentional goals, with your core values. Now, the next thing is overcoming challenges. Now, when you do the work, you can overcome the challenges. That goes back to my story about Michael Jordan and how he had to put in the work so when he was faced with challenges, he could overcome them in a game. It didn't matter who was coming after him, who was trying to block him. He had the resources to study the moves, study the film, work on the ball handling, everything I just talked about, so he could navigate that ball to either score or to pass to his teammate. Another way to overcome challenges is to focus on the end game. For example, and this is a very simple example, but I had a friend who hated to run hills. She hated it. And I would always tell her, I understand hills can be challenging, but look down at the concrete. Imagine that it is a flat surface, and then think about how you're going to feel when you get to the top of the hill. And that changed her way of thinking, and that kept her focus on the end game. And when she kept her focus on the end game, it was easier to climb that hill when she was running. Another way to overcome challenges is to find someone who's already doing what you want to do and follow in their footsteps. If you have the opportunity to talk to them, listen and learn, and ask them to be your mentor, that's a great way to start something that you didn't think you could start, but because you're watching someone else do it, you can do it. Now let's move on to consistent motivation. I think it's really important to have an accountability partner or a supportive community. Now, what does this look like? It's a safe person or persons who you can trust, and they will encourage you, support you, and uplift you. If there are people around you who are not encouraging you, supporting you, or uplifting you, I'm going to tell you to change your friends, okay? Now, when you have an accountability partner, their goals do not have to be the same goals that you have. They can be completely different. It's more about checking in. And when you have an accountability partner, I suggest that you check in either every day or once a week through text messages or email. It's very, very effective. I actually have an accountability partner for several things, and it's very, very helpful to keep me on my toes, get things done, and complete my daily tasks. Now, also too, when you have an accountability partner, it's not about having that partner or watching what they're doing, but it's actually showing you how to take on responsibility for yourself and get things done. And it also builds consistency. So when you find this safe person or persons, again, their goals do not have to be the same. You can do check-ins every day or every week through text messages or emails. This will help you take on responsibility for yourself, and it builds consistency. Also, too, it'll help build endurance. It'll remind you that you're not alone in trying to reach your goals, and it will also help you get started faster if you have an accountability partner or a supportive community. Now, let me quickly move into mindset and changing the way you think. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because this is a whole nother segment for a whole nother podcast. But this might make you a little angry, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. You have trained your brain to be stuck. Seriously, think about it. If you're laying in the bed and you don't want to get up to do whatever it is whatever the goal is that you set for yourself, and you don't move, you don't do anything, you have trained your brain to be right where you are. So you can easily train your brain to move, to make things happen for you. You can literally talk to yourself and tell yourself, Nicole, you need to get A, B, and C done, and you need to move now. If you say that to yourself enough, and you listen to yourself, and you move, again, going back to before, if you just move, you can start to change the way you think. Again, this is a whole other podcast, so I want to leave you with this. If you can train yourself to be stuck, you can train yourself to move in the right direction. Stop being scared, face your fear, and move forward. Now, this is really not last, but this is kind of the last segment, and that's celebrating your successes and reflecting on the things that you accomplished. After setting your intentional goals and you're moving through them, make sure you celebrate every little milestone. When there's a setback, you get up, you try again the next day, and if you accomplish something, celebrate it. Don't give up on yourself. When you have achieved one goal, when you've completely achieved it, reflect on the goal-setting process, your intentional goal-setting process, and make any necessary changes when you're taking the next step to create new goals. And always remember to make your goals intentional. So, in conclusion of this podcast, I think I'm a little bit more satisfied. There's a lot of information. So feel free to take notes. Go to therisershub.com for any notes or resources from this episode. But remember to ask yourself those 5 questions. Who are you creating these goals for? Train your brain to move forward. You trained it to be stuck. Train it to move. I encourage you to set intentional goals and start dreaming and planning and visualizing what you want and have fun with it. And again, check out therisershub.com for notes and resources for this episode. Good luck, and don't hesitate to shoot me an email with any questions. Until then, keep rising. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Remember, this podcast is meant for both education and entertainment purposes only. I am not a licensed therapist, so it's crucial to consult your physician, psychotherapist, or qualified health professionals for personalized advice. Until next time, take care. If you're enjoying this podcast, I would like to ask you to please subscribe, like, and share. That's what they told me to do at the end of this podcast. So could you hook me up? Thanks. Bye.